Hey folks, welcome to verifiedinvesting.com. My name is Gareth Soloway, Chief Market Strategist here. In today's video, let's dive into the chart on Robinhood and see what it's showing us. Is it going to be heading back to all-time highs or falling down? Now remember, it keeps on looking like they might get added to the S&P 500, but yet once again, just last night, it was not added to the S&P 500. That's creating a little bit of weakness today as investors, again, every time it's not added, they sell, then they rebuy in hopes that it gets added the next time. All right, let's dive into the chart and take a look. Robinhood again sitting flat to negative on the day, down just under 1%. Now, a couple things to look over here. So number one, we've been in a very successful uptrend since the April lows. A lot of stocks look like this, by the way. But the kicker here is this. Look at this right here, folks. So if we drag this down, look at this trend line. So what we have here on Robinhood is a very defined uptrend that unfortunately for bulls has now been broken. And you can see the uptrend all along here hit over and over again. In fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits, and then it broke. Now notice how once it broke, it retraced into what we call the scene of the crime, which now becomes resistance. And this is very, very important. So this trend line was support all along here. Once it breaks and confirms, which confirmation occurred right here, this becomes resistance. And basically what this tells us, it's like on one side of a mountain, right? When you're on this side of the mountain, it's easy to go this way. When you're on this side of the mountain, it's easier to go this way. So the bias has been now flipped to the downside based on this trend line break with confirmation. Plus, you had the classic retrace to the scene of the crime. Now, the next thing to take note of here is that it looks like we're forming a little bit of a bear flag, or even more so, take a look. If we remove this, look at what we could be forming. Now, again, this is a preliminary pattern formation, but to me, this does appear to potentially have the setup of a head and shoulders. In fact, we are coming back in here just a little bit. You can drag that down right to here. And you can see, again, we're already starting to come in, and that means you'll have support at around 102. But if it breaks 102, that's where the floodgates begin to open. All right, so again, head and shoulders, for those of you that don't know, that is a bearish chart pattern. And again, it has to occur at the highs of the charts, which this one is. And then ultimately, for it to trigger, the neckline must break. All right, so here we have it right here, right? So this is your neckline here, shoulder, head, and shoulder. And again, you could make a case that this is a down move with a bear flag. Either way, it's all bearish. You know, between the trend line that I showed, the head and shoulders, or the bear flag, it's all bearish consolidation or bearish setups. Now, the kicker here is if the head and shoulder does break, how low could Robinhood fall before it finds major support? Take the high of your head, flip it down to the neckline, and then let's just say it breaks here. You do it from the neckline break, and this would give us a target of around $81 per share on Robinhood. And obviously, it's contingent on this breaking the neckline for that to work out. But again, just giving you guys an idea. But suffice it to say, the chart on Robinhood, while there's so much bullish sentiment with retail investors, this chart does continue to have earmarkings of negative probability. And again, remember, we live in a world of probability. When we look at charts, we're looking at representation of human emotion, and we can quantify that through probability, right? What is favored based on the chart setup, the chart pattern, the factors like time and price as well. All right. So again, generally, we're looking at a slight negative bias. If we break the neckline, then you'd have a bigger negative bias take over that would take us likely down to that $81 target level, which interestingly enough brings us right into this area right here, which again would be that target price plus former kind of a little consolidation gap fill right in that vicinity. All right, so just wanted to do some quick analysis there. We can also flip to the bigger time frame, although Robinhood has been so vertical that the bigger time frame doesn't show us a lot. And again, we can clearly see this is when it IPO'd in 2021. Big pop, then a bear market, and then obviously we've had two bull pushes here. Big bull push up into February, and then we had the decline into Liberation Day, and then the next leg up has been absolutely massive. But again, if you look at the weekly chart, you can see it's starting to struggle here. It is absolutely starting to struggle. And one other thing I'll put on the charts here, let's throw up the RSI here, just see. And this is something that does get my attention, right? So just something here to take note of, and I want to just simplify. I love simplifying the RSI. You don't need the RSI based moving average, and I like to just put this into an orange so it pops a little bit more. But it's suffice it to say that this is the RSI relative strength index, right? And what we have on this chart is negative divergence, right? So here you have a high and a higher high. So high and higher high. But we look at this and it's high and lower high. And so again, this trend line connecting the highs is going up. This trend line connecting the highs of the RSI is going down. That is a negative divergence. And that's telling you that this is likely getting ready to fall, like we've just been saying. So again, that would just be an additional factor to add in to the analysis that points to downside on Robinhood. All right, so we'll see what happens. Again, let's watch very closely that neckline at 102. Do we come in and test that? Currently trading at 100, just under 107 on Robinhood. Let's watch and see. As always, folks, you guys are amazing. Come visit us at verifiedinvesting.com. And as always, folks, I'm here for you talking charts, no BS. What are the probabilities? Let's trade that. Have a good one. Take care.